Hey Yogi, welcome to class. If you're new to the channel, I'm Rhi, welcome. And if you are returning, welcome back. It is great to have you with me on the channel again. Before we jump into practice, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do. It just helps me to grow in this enormous universe. And if you did enjoy the practice and you get to the end of it, give the video a like and leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. All those things really help. So this is going to be a mellow flow. The intention is really just to sort of try and find a little bit of space through the body and hopefully the mind, and just release any kind of tension that we might have built up, maybe through the evening if this is a morning practice for you, through the day if this is at a different time. Just generally try and just get a bit looser through the body. So with it being a mellow flow, I do have some props just to make the experience more mellow. So firstly, I've got two blocks. The blocks are optional, you know, as always, really, you could do this practice with no mat, with nothing. But if you've got two blocks, then grab them and just place them where your hands would be towards the top of the mat, roughly shoulder distance. And then I do have a blanket. And again, you know, this is optional, but it sometimes just feels nice to have a little bit of padding under the knees while we're moving through a more mellow practice. So if you have like a towel or a blanket, then just grab that and unfold it. You want a little bit of thickness, not too thick, but kind of enough so that you've got a little bit of softness under the knees. So set yourself up now, maybe hit pause if you need to grab some stuff, and then meet me in a child's pose, balasana. So I'm going to have the big toes touching, knees are going to be pretty wide, and then I'm just going to kind of come down into a child's pose. I'm not going to go for a super deep child's pose. By that I mean I'm not really trying to get my forehead or my chest necessarily to the ground. I'm actually just going to look to kind of almost stretch through the underarms by sending the blocks far away if you have the blocks. If you don't have the blocks, then it's quite nice to come onto spidey fingers, because we just want to get a little bit of length through the underside of our arm just at the beginning. So allow yourself to have a little bit of a fidget here. Might be nice to just have some small movements. I said recently in an in-person class that I taught that we get wrapped up a lot of the time in yoga, and I guess in life, about the big movements, like the big visuals, the big asana poses, the big transitions. But actually, the place that, for me anyway, I find the most perspective and growth and shift is often in those smaller micro movements. And so, you know, with that in mind, I just invite you to sort of bring that kind of energy and awareness into what you're doing here. And maybe you're just really gently moving, and maybe you just choose, you know, just to sway the torso ever so slightly so you can just feel, you know, a little bit of something building in each underarm as you rock. Maybe you want to kind of lift and lower the hips off or towards the heels a few times. If you're off the blocks and you have the spidey fingers, maybe it's about just gently swaying from side to side and letting the fingers lift and lower. So this is really just about exploring what the really small micro movements feel like in your body in this moment on the mat. Nothing big, nothing fancy. And as you're here, kind of exploring that offering of, you know, inquiry, then just think about also at the same time as you're kind of meandering around your own body and observing, checking in, at the same time think about kind of bringing the breath under control. So taking it out of that autopilot that it lives in most of the time, and just bringing it under your attention. If your nose is open, then start to breathe through the nose. And these don't need to be the biggest inhales and exhales, but they just need to be intentional. So in these moments, the things that I invite you to focus on is what small, tiny shifts of movement, maybe even so small that if you filmed yourself, you wouldn't see them. What small movements can I make or take? And what breath can I invite in to just really drop me into my own body and how my body is showing up for me today. Maybe you mirror the wave-like quality of your breath with almost a soft wave-like feeling in whichever of these little tiny movements you're taking. Maybe that's literally a squeeze and a release of the toes, like a curling of the toes and a release. Maybe that's a curling in of the fingers and a release. Maybe it's a lowering and lifting of the head, just all of these tiny little places where we move from instinctively all the time. Just bring a little bit of awareness there and try to mirror the breath in that moment. Just see how it feels. Nice. From here, if your hands are on blocks, walk them off the blocks. If they're not, just bring them back towards your seat so you can sit upright. And we're just going to sit upright so that we can bring the knees together. So whichever kind of child's pose you just were in, now come into one where the knees are kind of drawing closer together. And then we'll come back onto the blocks or onto spidey fingers. And now just have a feel what it feels like to let the chest come down towards the thighs. Maybe you want to move your blocks a bit further away or extend your reach of those spidey fingers, just so that you still feel a little bit of sensation through the underside of your arms. And then we're just going to take a few sort of circular movements, really trying to target the shoulder. So we'll start with the left so that you can see me. So what we'll do is from here, we're going to lift the chest a little bit and start to kind of take the fingertips out to the left and then windmill the arm up and around, back onto the blocks. Same again, take them off the blocks. Windmill the fingers around, and as you come around, think about really turning that upper arm bone deep within the socket to try to bring the tricep towards the face. So it's a turn from deep within the kind of joint in the shoulder rather than just everything moving, which it happens, but try to take it out wide and then bring it closely in and just allow that rolling sensation to come in through the shoulder. Nice. Switching to the left side. So open up to the side with the fingers and just roll down. Gaze is just slightly lifted, but we're not kind of trying to take the neck out of neutral, but we're just more taking the gaze, so moving our eyes more than moving our head. Feel the restriction here. As we are so close to the floor, we have to take the fingers out wide to be able to take the circle. Nice. Then from here, roll forward, come into kind of a tabletop position. And what we'll do is the same, but we'll move forwards and back with the hips at the same time. So bring the hands so that they're roughly under the shoulders. And then from here, we'll start with the left again, just so it's easy for you to see. So we're going to sweep that left arm back. Windmill it around. Try and keep everything else the same here. So for anyone that's kind of into mobility, we're just trying to take a variation of a controlled articular rotation here, a car. So basically, we are trying to make that movement come, the rotation from deep within the shoulder joint. Take it the other way. So we're allowing the tricep to wrap next to the face as it comes around. And we're just taking circles. Nice. Plant the left hand down. Weight into the left hand. We'll do the same on the right. So reaching forwards. As you come around, start to rotate deep within that shoulder joint and come around. And again, we rotate deep within the shoulder joint. You'll get to a point towards the top where you have to then spin down to change the rotation. Nice, take it in the other direction. So this time the fingers will go back, and it's almost like we're breaststroking here. Oh no, it wouldn't be breaststroke, it'd be front crawl. You can tell I have not done a lot of swimming like that in a long time. Nice, take one more here. And then plant the hand down. Nice, this time we're going to move forwards and back with the body. So from here, we're going to reach forward, and as we swing the arm back, the butt will land. And then as we sweep the arm forward, the butt will lift. So this is kind of dynamic here. This is less specific. It's just about kind of getting a little bit of movement in, allowing the spine to move with us, taking it out of isolation. Nice, pop that left hand down. We'll do the same on the right. So reach the right arm up. As we come back, the butt will lower and then rise. So we're just reaching forwards and back, moving with the shoulder. Nice. Plant that right hand down. Let's take a few cat-cows here. So tuck the toes or let them be flat. As you inhale, lift the belly, drop the belly, lift the chest, lift the gaze. Cow pose. Exhale, round in, tuck chin to chest. Tuck that tail under, cat pose. Inhale, pull through. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Nice. Inhale, come back to the center. From here, as you inhale, we're going to take that cow pose, but swing the hips to the left, take the gaze to the left, looking over the left shoulder. Then from here, we're going to start to try and take the chin down as we come into more of a cat-like place. Swing the hips to the right, come back into the cow, look over the right shoulder. So it's a kind of like a bowling action. So cat pose in the middle, and then we swing to the left. Back through the middle. Imagine the chin is trying to paint the collarbones or drag across the collarbones. Swing to the left. Nice. One more to the right. And back to neutral. Beautiful. From here, move your blocks back a little bit. They're probably a bit far forward. Take your knees a little bit back so they're well on the mat. And then we'll find a downward facing dog. And this down dog might feel different because you've got your hands on the blocks if you took that option. So just see what it feels like to, maybe ground the heels a bit more than you usually would have capacity to. And just pedal out the feet a little bit. We've been a lot in the shoulder mainly, so let's just allow the kind of legs to get involved and just reacquaint the legs in this down dog place. Let your head be heavy. Nice. From here, lift your right leg up to the sky. 3-leg dog. As you exhale, the right foot will journey to the outside of that right hand. Drop the left knee down. Inhale, sweep your right arm forward and then take a twist. Find like a twisted lizard here, opening up to the right. Nice. As you exhale, swing the arm around, come back forward. The inhale takes you up. So it's kind of like a half breath here. Exhale swings you down. Inhale brings you up. The drishti can follow the hand here. So your gaze is kind of just chasing the fingertips, rising and lowering. Nice. On your next inhale, sweep it up. Hold here. Maybe you want to cactus that right elbow down. So you're just feeling that sort of scapular movement of your right shoulder, right scapula. Nice, really work to just keep feeling some of those micro movements we were just talking about. And then exhale, right hand back to the mat. From here, lift the hips high, come into a modified pyramid pose. So you can keep that right big toe down, or you could really flex through the right toes, your call. Take your gaze just beyond the top of your mat. Nice. Then replant that right knee. Step that right foot back to downward facing dog. From here, lift the heels, bend the knees, ripple forward, come into a high plank pose, then drop your knees down. From here, we'll take a small push up, so we'll lower and rise. Push your butt back to the heels. The forearms will hover if you're on the blocks. And as you inhale, we'll come into an up dog. This doesn't need to be a big up dog. Feel free to keep a soft bend through the elbows. And then exhale, wave it back. Downward facing dog. Nice. Left leg will go up on the inhale, 3-leg dog. On the exhale, that left foot goes outside of the left hand. The right knee will drop. Inhale, open up. Take a twist. Open up into that lizard. As you exhale, we're going to sweep that left arm down and back forward. So again, we're just taking this sort of half inhale and then exhale. Your gaze, your drishti, can follow those fingers as they move. Keep kind of reaching through the fingers as well here, so kind of opening up through the hand. And then inhale, open it up. Come into a more static variation and then bend the elbow. Really try and cactus through that left arm. And just feel that movement, feel that little shift of the wings you have on your back just coming closer together. Nice. Inhale, reach the arm forward, plant the left hand on the block or the mat, tuck the toes and lift the hips, come into that modified pyramid again. Feel free to bend through that left knee if that feels good, but keep plugging the left thigh bone back towards you. Keep sending the right hip forwards. Your gaze can be just towards the top of your mat. Nice. Inhale, rebend that left knee, plant the left foot, and then gently step it back to downward facing dog. From here, lift the heels, bend the knees, ripple forward into that high plank pose again. From here, drop your knees down and then just take a lift and lower. You can skip that if it feels too much. If not, we'll take the butt back to the heels, elbows and forearms are hovering, and then as we inhale, we gently come in to upward facing dog. And again, you can have a bend here in this up dog. It doesn't need to be the biggest expression of the posture. And then exhale, wave it back. Downward facing dog. Nice. Let's do that again. So inhale, the right leg will lift. As we exhale, right foot outside of right hand. Drop that left knee down. Inhale, sweep up, open up. This time maybe you reach that right arm back and draw that left heel in towards you. They don't need to touch. You don't need to connect right hand to left heel, but maybe if you can, you're going to catch hold of the outside of that left foot and then just allow yourself to kick the left foot into the right hand. Again, just moving that shoulder in another direction, having a little bit of leverage on the shoulder, feeling hopefully some sensation through that left leg. Nice. From here, gently release the foot if you caught hold of it. Plant the right hand back to the block. This time, as you inhale, we'll lift both hips high, work to straighten both legs. That modified pyramid pose is there. This time, we're pulling that right thigh bone back. And trying to send that left hip forward. Right big toe can be planted to the mat, or you can lift towards the shins, whatever feels good here. Nice, and then from here, rebend that right knee, plant the left knee down, keep the hands on the blocks, and then start to work into a half split. So pulling back into Ardha Hanumanasana. So again, you know, a soft bend through this right knee is always a good shout. We're just looking for activation or sensation through the right hamstring. So sometimes if we lock the right knee out, then actually it's going to take us out of the stretch. So, you know, modify as you need to so that the stretch works for you. Nice. Inhale, rebend the right knee, tuck the back toes, step back to downward facing dog. On your inhale, left leg will lift, 3-leg dog. On your exhale, it sounds like I've got a visitor, left foot to left thumb, left foot to the outside of the left hand. Drop that right knee down. As you inhale, sweep the left arm up. Drishti will follow the hand, taking that opening, and then see if you can just reach that left hand back. Again, we're going to drive the right heel into the butt. This is fine if this is where you end up. This is super active. If you want to catch hold for the foot and it's available, take the outside of that foot and then just start to kick that right leg into the left hand, allowing you to just work through this left shoulder. Keep kicking through that back foot. Really try and allow that shoulder to have a nice stretch. Keep sending the hips forward just slightly, but just trying to seek some sensation through the front of the right hip. From here, gently release. Left hand will go onto the block, tuck the back toes, lift the hips high, come into a modified pyramid here again. So we're just obviously just working out where we need to be, whether that's a soft bend through the left knee, whether that's a big bend through the left knee, whatever's going to feel like you've got a bit of a stretch there on the back side of that leg. Your gaze can be just beyond your hands. You can flex the left toes, but just keep sending the right hip forward, left hip working backwards. You're really trying to plug that left thigh bone back into its socket just to give the muscle a bit more of a stretch. Next inhale, rebend and plant the left foot. Gently let the right knee drop. And then work into your half split from here, Ardha Hanumanasana. So again, you know, straight leg is just optional. You can have a small bend. I almost always have a little micro bend in my knees in these postures. It just allows me to feel more of a sensation than if I lock out and lose that connection from low belly to thigh. So adjust as you need to. Same cue here. We're trying to send the right hip a little bit forward to allow the left thigh bone to really work its way back into our hip joints. Keep flexing through those left toes. Maybe you add a little bit of engagement to the front of the left hip, just adding a little bit of kind of counter to the stretch on the back of the leg. Nice. From here, rebend that left knee, plant the left foot, and then gently step back, downward facing dog. From here, roll forward, come into a high plank. You can hold this high plank. You could drop the knees and hold this variation, or you could lower and rise. Push the butt back to the heels, arms are floating if they're on blocks, and then inhale will bring you into that upward facing dog. Exhale, push back, downward facing dog. Nice. From here, take your feet as wide as your mat. Have the heels turning in, toes turning out, and then start to walk your hands back towards your feet. Now, we're going to come into a low yogi squat malasana here. So if when you go into a squat, the heels lift, they don't stay down, then if you've got the blanket, or even if you just have a mat, you can roll up the back of your mat, or you can just use your blanket to add a little bit of height under your heels. So we want to be here for a little bit, and sometimes it's hard to be there when the heels are lifted. So you can always just take the heels onto the blanket. This actually feels nice whether your heels drop to the mat normally or not. I quite like this variation for me. And then from here, we're just going to let the arms come onto the inside and really try and lift the chest. Notice if the feet are trying to cave in and we've got a little bit of like turning in of the arch of the foot. Really fight to be kind of right on top of your arches. So you want to push into the outer blade of both feet. And then from here, lifting the chest. If this feels like a lot and you want it to be a little bit more kind of less effort, then you can always grab your block, pop that underneath your seat, and that's just going to take a little bit of the work out. Still going to get the hip opener, but you're not having to hold yourself here. Can I help you, Burley? So take your option. Maybe the block is what you go for. Maybe it's no block. Once you've been here for a little bit, maybe you want to wiggle the feet a bit wider, encourage the hips to go a bit wider. And these are all just kind of choices in the exploration. You can open up the arms, really trying to lift the chest here, looking long. Tune back into the breath, and maybe tune back into those micro movements that we were kind of exploring at the beginning. So maybe that's a tiny little shift in the hips that may not even be noticeable if you were looking at yourself. Maybe that's lifting and lowering the toes. Maybe it's a real gentle open and close of the jaw. It could be anything, but I just want you to explore the small details rather than always, often we're looking at the big things. But, as we all know in life, it's often the small things that make a big difference. I said something today on Instagram, which was along the lines of, it takes like thousands of the tiny brush strokes and the small intricate details to make one of those masterpiece paintings. And all we see on the outside is the big stuff, right? We see like the big, hanging up in the Louvre or in one of the, Tate galleries. But actually, if we think about it, it was probably a lot of hours of really fine-tuning small little details. And it's those sort of micro little expressions that can actually make the biggest difference when we add them up over time. So that was all just me chattering to take you away from how much effort this might be to be in this very long hold malasana. Nice. And then from here, you're just going to allow yourself to drop your butt down. So I obviously have visitor on my mat, so I'm not going to come down into Shavasana here because I don't want to move her. But from here, feel free to undo the blanket, roll it out flat, and then come down into a Shavasana, something that feels nice to you, something that feels soft. And as you make your way into your corpse pose, your Shavasana, just allow yourself to really relax into the mat, assessing if there's any change in how the shoulders are feeling or how the hips are feeling. Now we've spent just a little bit of time exploring those places. Gently soften the eyes if they're open. Or just take your gaze so it's really soft and not focused on one thing. What are the small little movements that are happening within your body in this moment? Maybe it's little fidgets to get you comfortable. Maybe it's big fidgets because you need to move things around to have the space. Maybe it's just a gentle little wiggle of the toes and the fingers before you relax into your Shavasana fully. And then from here, just really start to drift into a beautiful kind of state of just being. As always, I won't stay with you for Shavasana, especially as I'm currently not in it. But I do invite you to stay here for as long as you can. Taking a few breaths and just giving yourself time to just be in the present moment without worrying about the big details, without worrying about the small details, but just allowing yourself to focus in on the present time. The only thing that is truly guaranteed. As always, it's an absolute privilege to practice with you on YouTube. Until we meet again, have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you, Yogi.